Hi, everybody. This is Chris Hopkinson with Red Education. It's 2 o'clock, 2:01. We're going to give folks another 90 seconds or so just to get into the webinar. I know Zoom can take a few seconds to get in. So we'll get started here in probably a minute or two. Thanks. All right, I've got two after the hour, so we'll go ahead and get started just with some introductions here and some of the housekeeping stuff, and folks can continue to jump into the webinar. So thank you all for joining today. This is really going to be about how do you create a virtual community. I know that everybody's really busy right now, and so we appreciate the time you're spending with us, and hopefully we're going to kind of help you all learn and sort of figure out how to deal with these remote students now outside of the classroom. So my name is Chris Hopkinson. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for Red Education. With me is Eric Gudmundsson. He's one of our senior success consultants. And I'm just going to do kind of a brief intro. Eric's going to handle a large part of today's presentation, which will really be more of a demo of our product, kind of showing you how we're helping schools virtualize community and campus life. Eric is one of the folks who works with our 350 plus schools. They've been extremely busy, as everybody has been over the last 6 weeks, particularly for us where now the mobile app has really become kind of the central tool for communication and engagement for kind of all things out of the classroom. So some housekeeping items. Everybody's on mute. There will be a recording of the session that will be sent out afterwards. We won't take questions over the call, but there is a Q&A chat box. So if you have questions, you can just post them in there. You can put them in whenever, but we'll get to all the questions at the end. Last disclaimer, as I'm sure you can see, and I know we're all dealing with this, but I'm remote, I'm working from home. I have 3 kids who are 2 in middle school, one in elementary school. We're on week 3 of homeschooling. I'm pretty sure we're like 2 days away from Lord of the Flies here. So I don't know if someone's going to barge in or if you hear some background noise. Those are my kids, and my wife and I are rotating homeschooling. So tough times at home and at work, but we're looking forward to kind of jumping into this. So the agenda for today is, we really want to kind of cover really some of the challenges that schools are dealing with all these students who are now remote and really disconnected from the physical school. Eric's going to go really into how we're supporting schools and having to deal with that situation. So how do we keep students engaged, and how do we reach them when they're off campus? And a lot of that will be with some of the virtual communities and kind of the virtual campus life. So we'll get started with a quick poll question, just trying to find out where and what challenges you all are having with students today. So we'll take a few seconds to put that poll up, and you can vote, and then we'll take a look at some of the responses.
All right, we still see some poll responses coming in. We'll give you a few more seconds to respond to that, thinking about if you're currently finding it challenging to reach out and engage with students while we're remote. Alrighty, great. Thank you all so much for participating. So if we end that, looks like we've got the majority of individuals somewhat. There's some room for improvement, but we also have 25% of folks saying yes, that very much reliant on email right now. So looks like we had 0% respond for no, not at all. We have a solid communication system in place. So with that being the case, I guess you're in the right spot. So hopefully you learn some ways that a mobile app and a virtual campus can really help you out today.
Perfect, thanks, Eric. So I think where we are right now is most of you all have figured out or are in the process of figuring out how to do online learning. So fortunately, the LMSs are really set up and built well to handle this. I'm sure a lot of the sort of challenges that maybe you all are coming across is just training the faculty to teach online, which is a huge hurdle. But if you're most likely in a better spot today than you were a week or two ago, and I think that will continue to improve over the next month. And ultimately, you'll be in a better position long-term with courses online and remote students. The next phase is, okay, if this is going to be our situation for summer or potentially for the fall, how do we connect with our students around everything else? The campus life, campus orientation, when there is no financial aid office, how does the financial aid office engage and get questions answered from students? How does career services interact? How do we continue to engage students in campus clubs or groups? How does advising reach students when email's not working? So I think what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks is, now that everybody's really heads down and really scrambling to get online learning up and running, the next phase will be, how do we manage the rest of this campus? And so I think as the dust starts to settle, maybe heading into April and into May, your presidents and your provosts are going to pop up and say, hey, we need a strategy for everything else, whether it's communication or a virtual community, or just orientation in clubs and groups. And students need this too, because online courses is phenomenal for keeping them on track academically, but ultimately students want to feel connected to everything else, as I think a lot of us are feeling right now, a little bit of cabin fever and wanting to really connect to a community. And that's so important on a campus today. And so that's what we really want to help you all discover, is how to do that. So what we've seen, and I think based on the poll results, you all are feeling this as well, right? We've had a massive communication shift over the last couple of years. Most schools know it and are doing their best to deal with it. But what we've seen more recently is that students aren't reading email. Most students probably have never heard of AOL or Yahoo or even Hotmail, and they've all kind of turned the channel. And so what mobile has really done is facilitate a new communication channel, and for the most part, those are apps that are chat specific. So WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger and Snapchat, and even things like Slack that you all might be using as an institution, or your students might be using in their campus clubs or groups or in other activities. So we've had this fundamental shift, which everybody's kind of been seeing, where students aren't reading email. They've moved over to apps, and in particular chat apps. And now as institutions, we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we engage a student that no longer reads our emails? I think the other thing that we're starting to see is, you can go to the next slide here, is how this is affecting text. So text is definitely on a downward shift. These stats are actually from 2016. So they're a few years old. But what we're seeing is, because of the popularity of things like Facebook Messenger and Snapchat and WhatsApp and Slack, students are using text less. Obviously, they're still using it, but it's less popular than it was before, because chat is really where students are engaging, because there's so much more you can do in a chat message than there is in a text message. In addition, it's hard for students to really manage and organize text. And what we've seen today with downloaded apps, and this might be new information for you all, but we're also used to Facebook being the most popular downloaded app every year for, the last 10 or so years. More recently, it's changed pretty dramatically, where the top two are now both chat apps. So WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger. Snapchat is number 6. So 3 of the 6 top apps downloaded last year were chat apps. And so we can see how, the data is showing that chat is now where students are going to communicate. In a lot of cases, chat is kind of the new social. So particularly with this, new demographic of students, they're spending less time on Facebook. So it's not just that it's not the most popular downloaded app of 2019. It's also that for a generation, mostly younger generation, they're not using Facebook as much. WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger and Snapchat are the popular tools to not only communicate, but also engage. And don't feel sorry for Facebook. They own 4 of these platforms. So obviously they own Facebook, they own Facebook Messenger, they own WhatsApp, and they own Instagram. So they're really still controlling a lot of the online engagement and social and communication channels that we see. So I'm going to hand things over to Eric here and really get into what that looks like. What is everything that we've talked about in terms of a virtual community and a virtual campus life and chat and engaging students look like on mobile.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. So as Chris mentioned, what we're going to do now is shift gears a little bit. So we talked a little bit about kind of where we're at, and I'm sure those of you on the call today as well are feeling it, right? Everyone's working from home. Our courses have all gone online in record speed. I mean, it's remarkable to see how all of the campuses have truly completely switched gears on a dime to now be online. So what we've seen as well, and having a connection platform like Ready Education really does take those aspects of college life, from academics to social and all that information, and just roll it up right onto your mobile device. So I'm going to go through the mobile device and look at the Ready Education app and be able to show kind of a highlight if you haven't seen our platform before. And then we'll also take a look at what the administrative backbone looks like, which we call the Campus Cloud, before jumping into some campus partner examples to show some real examples of virtual communities and how campuses have adjusted. What you're looking at here is a student's homepage. So each time a user logs into their campus app, they're going to be taken to the homepage. Now, what's great about this is that on the top, you'll see those COVID-19 tile there and the stress and coping. These are featured tiles. So these are 2 spots, and there can be up to 10 if we scroll over, that are controlled by the administration. So those of you administrators on the call, you can choose some featured content that students see when they first log into the app. So they can click on those and, for example, be able to look at some information on COVID-19 from the CDC. Those can also be campus announcements and more. Scrolling down then, this is where it becomes more tailored and specific to the student. So we want a student's homepage to actually be information that's practical and relevant to them. We don't want this to be an app that they open up and feel like they have to hunt and peck for information that's relevant to them at that moment. So looking down, you can see today's schedule. So for those of you on the East Coast, I should be in Intermediate Accounting 2 right now at 2 p.m. So you can see my course schedule. The schedule is also placed that academic calendar information will also go. So last day to drop a class, things like that will also show up there on a student's calendar. Due dates and my courses, if you use our integrations for the learning management system and the student information system, this information will be pulled in. So I can see my due dates for courses in the next 7 days, and also all the courses that I'm enrolled in. These are also going to be interactive, so students can click on that and be able to see more information about their course. So I can see announcements, participate in a discussion board, grades, roster, and more, just through being on the main page of the app. So that's a little bit about the homepage that a student would see. Of course, for your app, it would be branded with your colors, your logo, and more. Going along the bottom there, this is what we call the campus guide. So of course, we think it's extremely important that students find information that is tailored directly to them, but we also know that your institutions have a ton of information that students should also be able to access from their mobile device. So from the campus guide on here, we can see that we've got some featured tiles. So each of these can be either a link to another website, you can be an app, so we see Zoom there. So if I click on Zoom, that'll take me right into the Zoom app on my phone. So if students are using that for courses, for clubs, anything like that, we want to make it as easy as possible to centralize this so that they can click on there and open Zoom right away. This is also a great way for students to stay in touch with their clubs and organizations. So if they're a part of a club or organization, they can also be a member of that within the app, be able to come in and have a chat with other members of the app itself, or other members of that club within the app. So thinking about that virtual campus, this still gives students those touch points. They can still have their meetings, they can still, chat within the app and find out updates, still while being at home. And more, there's also opportunities to showcase campus services and be able to find out about events, maybe virtual events that academic advising is hosting, and be able to get information and still get in contact with them. So hopefully it'll be like day-to-day life and all this information that they can find at the touch of a button here on the campus guide. Moving into the middle, we know that tailored information is important, so is finding other campus resources, but communication, as you saw from what Chris talked about, is really where the students are right now. They want to be able to chat and engage digitally with other individuals. So on our campus community or campus wall on here, we can see that students can post announcements, they can ask questions. Here's an example of Anjay looking for an online study group for econ, and students can respond right on there. So the campus wall is a great spot for students to connect, ask questions, but it's also a spot that offices and departments can also take advantage of. So we see student life on here letting them know, and of course this was back in the days when students were on campus with free ice cream in the quad. They can also add announcements. We've seen great resources from counseling centers posting virtual opportunities for students to get in touch, career centers offering virtual resume reviews. All of those types of things can be done and posted here on the campus wall. Now there is plenty of moderation that's already put in place as well. So there's no anonymous posting. You have to be able to log in via their username and password from your institution to even get to here. There's also a swear and offensive word bank. So any sort of off-color verbiage that a student would choose to post is going to be blurred out. And if a student is acting up, they can also be removed or muted from the campus wall, so they can't post or comment or like a post. We also, much like any sort of social platform, have peer-to-peer policing. So you can report a post as inappropriate, and on its fourth post, it would be removed. So this is not necessarily the Wild West, but it's a really great example of ways that students can still connect with peers, offices, departments on campus, right from their mobile device. We even have it broken down here on the by channels. So you can have different channels, and you can also customize those so that students can connect about ride sharing, groups, and also custom campus feeds. The fourth tab here, this is going to be our notifications. So on notifications, this is going to be where if you send out a push notification, whether that's maybe an announcement, you can see on here, so COVID updates. We can also see inclement weather warnings, and also you can get notifications from posts and feeds are all going to come to one centralized spot. So those will be push notifications and also a spot to receive notifications as far as academic notifications as well will all come into your notification section. And finally, we have their profile. So on the profile, it's going to be an area for students to go and find some different information, like any of the posts that they've done on the campus community. Can also get into more of the integrations. So if you are going to have an integrated app, you can also pull in things like account balances, financial aid. Students can accept financial aid from their device, and also look at holds. So if there is an issue going on, they can find administrative and financial aid holds right from their phone and have all of that pulling in from your other campus systems. So we have a lot of different opportunities for students to be able to come in here, engage with the campus, find relevant information for themselves, and also communicate with other students. Switching gears a little bit, thinking about the administrative. So how do you manage all of this? And what does it look like for an administrator to be able to manage a campus app like this and a virtual community? This is our campus cloud. So as an administrator, you'll be able to access this campus cloud. So right from the dashboard, you'll be able to see different statistics to look at usage. So we'll see our downloads and registrations. So how many users have downloaded the app from your campus, and also how many users have registered, so how many users have logged in. Now this is our demo app, so don't think this is the campus that's just not getting a lot of attention, but a lot of downloads. This is our demo app, so you're seeing some data from Ready University here. Going a little bit deeper than just downloads and registrations though, you can also see unique active users over the last 90 days. So how many faculty, staff, and students are actually accessing the app each day, and how many times are they opening it? So how many times, if they're logged in, are they actually going and opening the app per day? You'd work with your campus success consultant like myself or another member of my team, and we dive into this data with you. We've been seeing some really interesting trends since campuses have been going remote to see these spiking up for unique users and app opens, just going up compared to what they used to be with students being remote. So it's a great time to engage students. We know they're on their smart device, and we know this is a way for them to be able to come in and engage more. A lot more statistics you'd see on here as far as views. We also look a little bit at some social information to see how many posts, message, friendships, and likes are happening in the app. Now, when we're thinking about the app and kind of bringing everything in, we don't want you to have to reinvent the wheel. So on here, you'll notice that our events, we can pull in from RSS feeds and iCal feeds. And when we're doing that, we also want things to look good. So you'll notice here that these events coming in from feeds, we add a smart icon to it. So it would be branded with your campus's colors. And we add a icon based on the title of the event itself. So again, it's a great way to bring content in, and you can always edit that later on if you'd like. We've got a lot of different hosts and services that participate in the app at a lot of different campuses. And the great part is you can granularize, or you can have granular permissions so that campus safety, career counseling, you can have members of those areas be able to have their access to the app to update their events and manage any content without giving them the keys to the kingdom in the full campus app. There's a lot of different areas on here that you can play with native content, but a few others that I just wanted to highlight today is going to be sending out those push notifications. So we're sure you have a lot of updates and information coming at students, so getting it in their hands via push notification is key. So you can create announcements through the campus cloud, send those out either campus-wide, or you're going to be able to tailor those to different audiences. So we know that tailored audiences and tailored messaging is extremely important to make sure that the right student is getting the right message at that right time. So we can go ahead and choose if you just wanted this to go to a certain class, so class of 2024, you can send out that message and have links, emails, phone numbers, and all of those would be clickable in their device. Maybe you're working early in the morning, you can also choose to send these later on. So you can schedule out those push notifications to be able to make sure that those are going out at the right time for your students. When you're creating those audiences as well, this is going to be an option that you would have to do some dynamic audiences. So we make it as easy as possible for you to find the students that you want to send those messages to. So if you wanted to send out a quick message to all sophomore students, you can do that, and you can even layer on other filters to be able to send those out to sophomore students receiving a bachelor's in biology, for example. Just want to dive a little bit into the Campus Cloud and mobile app to show you a little bit about what you can do as an admin, what you're able to see, and how you're able to control kind of that messaging and create that vibrant virtual community for your students. Again, if you do have any questions as well, feel free to throw those into the Q&A section. We will be getting to that at the end. But what I think is more important than us showing you what you can do and what you saw in our demo app is to look at some best practices. So when we're looking at creating these dynamic virtual communities, we've kind of boiled it down to 3 different best practices. One is going to be creating engaging content. So making sure that the content that you're putting into your virtual campus is engaging and something that students are going to want to find engaging. And also looking at those push notifications, we'll look at some examples of that. And then finding chat and two-way communication. Really, I can't break it down to social more. I think it's really important to be thinking about those chat aspects and really having students still being able to engage virtually. So when we start looking at engaging content, a really exciting example that I think is thinking outside the box with what type of content is being added to an app. This is Azusa Pacific University, and you'll notice here on the left-hand side on their campus guide, they have a whole section now for remote resources. So knowing that students are accessing their app, they've got 4 different tiles on there to be able to quickly get information and updates. But I love their weekly rhythms tile. So you'll notice in the middle that they've got a lot of different resources piled into one tile. So if students are coming in here, they can watch live streams of their devotionals that are happening. They can watch past ones. They can submit requests. They can also find ways to serve remotely. So if they're interested in still serving the community, they can find different ways to do that remotely. But I love the weekly music worship playlist. Something that they change up weekly so that if students need some tunes right through Spotify, they're able to find this curated from APU and be able to access that. So again, thinking beyond just a website with a directory, finding engaging content is really important at this time to get students engaged in your virtual community. Also making sure that you're doing easy to digest information. Warren Wilson did a COVID-19 tile, and you'll notice on the right-hand side here that this is going to be broken down. So it's not just access to a website that has COVID-19 information. They've broken it down that a student looking at COVID-19 information may be feeling stressed. So have a resource for that. They might need the writing studio. they can click that to get that resource. So creating that easy to digest information is going to be another way to just make sure that this digital instance of your campus is as easy as possible for students to navigate. At Ready, we know that you've got a lot going on. So we know that there are a lot of other things that might need your attention, and creating engaging content may be a little bit challenging when you're also thinking about different ways to get your campus online. So we also have helped out in creating some of this engaging content ourselves. So this is an example of a COVID-19 module that Ready Education created and offers to our campus partners. And what I love about it is that it also goes into stress and coping. So kind of giving students information about how do you learn and work from home? How do you make that transition if they've never done that before? How can you stay connected? So students can go through this COVID-19 module and learn some of these different information beyond just symptoms and things like that of COVID-19 right now. Another way to create engaging content is connecting things that already exist. So Oral Roberts University connected their chatbot, so they call it Eli the chatbot. And so now right from the app homepage, current students or prospective students can come on and get connected with their chatbot. So if there are questions they have, they can always get responses at any time of the day through their chatbot. And so again, that's going to be connected right from their campus guide. So finding ways, because students are going to be online doing their work 24/7. So we want to make sure that students can get those resources at any time. So I think a chatbot, if you have that, being able to connect it to the mobile app is going to be another way to be able to reach students at any time when they're on the mobile app. I mentioned that they use at Oral Roberts a chatbot as well for prospective students. Your campus app can also be a great way for students to learn more about your institution, seeing as they're not going to be out and about at this time at least to visit campuses. So Sullivan University's Louisville campus has done a great job curating a prospective student experience. And this is one that if you download the app, any user can go and check out the prospective student experience. So it's not behind a single sign-on authentication. Students can go, they can apply, so they can access the application right through the campus guide, learn more information about the different types of whether you're a graduate student or undergraduate student, financial planning resources, and virtually tour the campus. So they have the link there to open up and virtually go through. So maybe you're not able to get over to Louisville right now, but open up your campus app and be able to virtually tour the campus. So there's a lot of different ways to help out with your enrollment and still have students or prospective students access an area and find resources about how they can learn more about your campus. Also, as Chris mentioned, we're thinking about the summer. We want to be proactive to make sure that, we're as prepared as possible in case orientation is being brought online. And even if you're back on campus, having orientation resources in the campus app is going to be key for students to be able to find information and connect with students virtually, even if they're on campus. So you can bring orientation right onto their mobile device. So this is an example of having a first-year orientation run through the app. So we can see events, you can have due dates or different to-do items for students in the app. You can also be able to have students join and communicate right through their orientation. So this is a segment of the app that you can join and be able to have conversations just with other students that are part of the first year orientation. You can see all the list of events, and in those events, maybe if it is going to be digital, you could always put a link to a Zoom meeting or something like that, so that if students go in, they can still access the event. They would just find that link under one of the events in the event tile under orientation. So another way of being prepared, this can also be used for any sort of welcome weeks, conferences, leadership programs, and things like that can also use our orientation module to make sure that they're getting the most out of their experience, even if they're not on campus. So stepping over to think about those push notifications. So we looked in the campus cloud to show you how you're able to do that. So as an admin, how you're able to send out those push notifications. We think this is extremely important right now because Chris talked a little bit about it. Here's a stat as well from Bowling Green State University about more than 50% of students not always reading their emails. So leveraging your push notifications to be able to get those regular, urgent, or emergency notifications out can all be done through your mobile app, through Ready Education. So here's an example, of course, of classes being suspended. And as you have those updates, you can always send those out via the push notifications. Defining those key audiences, and this is going to be something that you can do either through our dynamic. So I showed an example of using more of an integrated look at being able to define those audience. You can also just do that through a CSV file. So if you needed to get in touch with a certain group of students, We just need their first name, last name, and email address, be able to upload that CSV file to be able to send out those targeted notifications to students. So it's really easy for admins to still be able to do that and send them through our push notifications to get in touch with students. Another one is making sure that those academic notifications when students are not on campus are still getting to them. So you'll see just a few examples of a discussion board thread that was added, and so that students can get on their phone. And if they also have, in this example, an Apple Watch, that notification that's going to their phone is also buzzing them on their watch. So you know what, maybe they don't have their phone right next to them, but they can get a notification saying that that Bio 101 final group project is coming up. So those are the types of things that using those academic notifications, which would be set up directly through your integration. So that would be an option that just kind of comes through based on how students are using the device, but also, you know, any of their learning management systems will come through those notifications. Beyond just creating that engaging content as an institution or using the push notifications to make sure that any updates or information is coming directly to their mobile device, we also want to use this virtual community or virtual campus to create social opportunities. So on this example from Ocean County College, this is their virtual engagement example. So they created a group on a service called Virtual Engagement. So students can come in and find all of these virtual events that are being either hosted or promoted by Ocean County College. So students can join it, they can interact, and they've got a trivia night coming up on April 7th. So it's an area, again, of making sure that just because students aren't necessarily on the ground on campus, you can use your app in innovative ways to promote events that are still happening. So all is not lost. We can still have great virtual events and engage with students or promote different opportunities that are out there. They promoted the nightly Met Opera streams, for example. Might not necessarily be something that the campus is putting on, but it's an opportunity for students to find resources as they're looking for different entertainment, maybe than Netflix, a little bit more cultural. They can find that here from the virtual engagement service on the Ocean County College app. Another one from Western Health, what they've been doing is having these weekly Monday discussion groups through Zoom. So promoting digital face-to-face communication on here. So every Monday, they've got their Monday social hours listed out here, so students can find these on the app and then use the link there to be able to join the Zoom link there for the book club. So being able to join that and be able to have a conversation with those students on there. So still some great opportunities to be able to communicate and engage and just through Zoom, but the campus decided to make this a lot more social and be able to use their digital campus to promote these different opportunities. We looked at the campus wall and the campus community live in the app, and on here are just some different examples of ways that you can share and discuss important information. So on here we can see a post, again, topical about COVID. What's great about the campus community is that it also allows that two-way communication to unfold. So if a student asked if there will be a graduation ceremony, we had one campus where the Dean of Enrollment was able to respond right in the app. So students might be wondering about what's happening with graduation in a couple months. If they ask it here, at least a member of the community can comment and respond to them right in the app. Also, we've got the option to then post photos and more updates and information onto the campus wall. So you can share those information that maybe doesn't need necessarily that push notification, but does open up that conversation for two-way communication and students to be able to interact with staff right on their campus wall. Also, there's the opportunity for the peer-to-peer communication. So I showed the example on the left live in the app for students to be able to engage together and study. Students can connect. Now, if they connect on the campus wall, they can also move that over to peer-to-peer communication. So this is more of a private peer-to-peer communication that's facilitated through the app. So you'll notice here on the right, if I wanted to connect with Anjay more about Econ 241, an online study group, I can take that off of the campus wall and be able to have that conversation through our peer-to-peer messaging. And it doesn't always have to be about Econ 241. Here's just an example. There's a cat photo. You can still have some fun with it and give students the opportunity to be able to communicate with one another without sharing any information. They don't need to share their cell phone number. They don't need to share their email address. They can just chat, communicate, and friend each other through the app, through our peer-to-peer opportunity. There's also the option for campuses to create subject-specific academic groups, or they could just be subject-specific groups within the app. So here's an example of Bio 101 supplemental instruction. So being able to come in here, users can opt in, so they can join the group and be able to participate in a Bio 101 conversation and also get in touch with the service from phone number or email address on the right. So it's another great way that you can kind of think outside the box and create smaller groups, subgroups. They don't need to be academic in nature, but they could be within the app to kind of keep that conversation going and make sure that that's all built within your virtual campus right on the mobile app. There's also the option to move your services into that virtual community. So if students need help with ITS, so maybe they have a computer question or they need help accessing something, you can also have your ITS, your career services, your academic coaching, anything like that as services in here, and be able to have students join and have that conversation. So you'll notice on the right, a student having access with Canvas, and ITS being able to comment and connect with that student right through the app. So it takes the email component out and puts it right here to be able to communicate back and forth right through the service details. And this is open to any service that you'd like to be able to come in and have this option right through the app. When we're thinking about those engaging opportunities, so maybe it is a trivia night that you're hosting through Zoom, or maybe you're doing some open drop-ins to talk about resumes via another service of doing video or communication remotely. We still have the option to gather feedback remotely. So the Campus Cloud can generate QR codes for either events or services. So if you generate that QR code, you would be able to, maybe you host an early bird yoga from Zoom from your campus. Students can use their mobile device and the QR code that's embedded, or the QR code scanner that's embedded in the app, scan that right from the screen, and then you'll know that that student attended, and you can send a follow-up micro survey for them to respond to. So that micro survey would have a 1 through 5 star rating, and then you can also add a custom question to that. So you can still gather feedback remotely right through the app for students to, again, be able to know who's attending these resources or be able to get feedback. And you don't have to do the feedback option. You can also just have students scan right from their device onto a screen to know that they participated in an activity, joined a video conference, or anything like that to be able to do the check-in. And we can also do check-in and check-out. So you can have students check in at the beginning and check out at the end from the same QR code on the screen. So a lot of good ways that we can still track attendance and engage with students, get feedback even when they're not on campus, just through a combination of the Campus Cloud and the Campus mobile app. What that does is that gives you information onto your assessment dashboard. So in the Campus Cloud, you can see the assessment dashboard like you're seeing here and be able to look at how many students, depending on the period of time that you have denoted in the Campus Cloud, you'll be able to look at the engagement levels. What's nice about this too is if you're seeing no engagement from a certain demographic or a certain audience of students that you create, you can send them a quick message. So you can message them on there to say, hey, we noticed maybe since you went remote that you haven't taken advantage of any of our online resources that we've been using the QR code scanners for. So send them a message, make sure that they know that those resources are happening in the app and how to find those. You can download that information into a CSV file or see those reports and feedback all through the Campus Cloud. So a lot of ways to still keep kind of that normal day-to-day situation on campus alive and well in your virtual campus on the mobile app. So to kind of go back and look at those best practices that we looked at for creating a virtual community, making sure that you are uploading engaging content. So your campus success consultant is here to be a support person and kind of help give examples of what some other campuses are doing and help guide you in creating that engaging content. So you're not alone in this process. You do have your campus success consultant and our content team that are ready to help you make sure you're building and sharing engaging content on the app. Leveraging push notifications to make sure that students are aware of any important updates, and also making sure that you're targeting different audiences with messaging that they need during this time. And finding different ways to encourage chat and two-way communication. So make sure that students are still having a social experience that is revolving around the campus and just each other, so that during either remote learning or even when everything goes back to normal, you're still having students chat and engaging on their mobile device through their campus's app. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Chris, and he's going to talk a little bit more about a Ready Education Quick Start Kit.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Eric. So hopefully everyone has a great sense now of how valuable and useful all these tools, which Eric did a phenomenal job of covering in a short period of time, but you can see how much functionality, how much engagement, how much communication channels there are in terms of really connecting with all these students who are now remote. In fact, we just had a school kind of reach out to us and say they were so thankful that they had already had this set up so that the students have already become familiar with what a virtual campus life or community is like. So what we want to do is really bring that to as many schools as we can. So we understand that these are challenging times for all of our schools, and we really want to help you all get to a place where you can engage these students outside the classroom as quickly as possible. It may just be for the summer, it might be for the fall, hopefully not. So what we're offering now is everything that Eric showed. We can get up and running pretty quickly. So usually within under a month. Most of the work is on our team. We have a really robust team, including Eric and content specialists and everybody else who can really help set this up. So this is not a situation where, you know, we hand you the keys to a platform and on top of everything else that you're doing right now, you now have to build a mobile app. This is something that we build really for you with input from you all, of course, on branding and content and those types of things, but it's something that we can get up very quickly. We are offering it for about half off, which just really just covers our costs. So pricing would be about $20,000 for the first year. So to get you up and running within a month, you can have this product for a year. If it shows all the value that it has to our 350 schools, that's fantastic. You know, you can renew and continue going forward beyond the first year. If not, no harm done. Hopefully we provided some value and your students got, you know, a little bit more engagement than they would have remotely in today's kind of environment. So with that, you can reach out to us via email at info@readyeducation. There's also a landing page here where you can see more information on our website and request a call. It would be great to have conversations with each of the schools so we get a better sense of kind of what your needs are and what your systems are and you know, your timing on some things like orientation that you might need now to virtualize. So with that, I'll open it up to questions. And the first question is from Maria. And her question is there a way to track student engagement instead of, oh, I'm sorry, there's a poll too. I missed that, Eric. Sorry, you want to do that?
It's all good. We'll answer the question. I just launched the poll, so we're going to go ahead and answer, Maria. We can answer your question while we're gathering the poll information.
Yeah.
So
Do you see the question too, Eric?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep. So we've got is there a way to track student engagement instead of in an individual fashion? Track it for an entire classroom. Great question. So in the tracking that we offer, it can either be event-based or we can also do that through a service. So it is going to be more individual-based with students scanning a QR code. So they would use their mobile device when they've logged in to scan that QR code because really what we're tracking is getting their first name, last name, email address as they track that if they've registered for the app. We also offer a manual check-in option. So if a user, you know, their phone is dead or if they, you know, aren't able to, if they don't have a smart device, they can also use they can give their first name, last name, email, and you can manually add them into that same event or service. So if you wanted to do that, so it is going to be more individual based with each person, you know, saying that they are there for that instance to be able to track that they attended or that they were at that event or that class. Of course, great question.
We got the poll up.
All righty. So gonna go ahead and end the poll. So if anyone else, we got a few more seconds to get that poll in. All righty, so I'm gonna share those results and then we'll get to another question that came in through the Q&A. So sharing these results. So looking at the when are you hoping to deploy? Looks like we got we got 20% as soon as possible. We got maybe next year and then no current plans to do so. So looking like, you know, definitely some folks that are looking to get it as soon as possible and then hopefully in the next year. So this actually ties well. The question that came in was looking at what's a typical process to deploy and how long would it take? So that's something that, you know, we can get you up and running when we're looking at getting the app just in the App Store and getting all the content together, we're looking at probably around about a month to do that, maybe about 3 weeks, depending on the level of what we're doing with content. If we were looking at the deeper integrations, when I was showing you with the courses and integrations, that does take a bit longer. A typical implementation for a campus would be about that 3-month mark. But that's for again, deeper LMS or learning management system and student information system integrations. So what we're looking at really for that quick start, that's something that if you get in touch with us, we'd be looking at kind of getting that on more of a rapid deployment opportunity that we would work with you on. So Chris, any thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, no, that's great. And folks, in terms of timing, maybe it's important to think about when your orientation is. That might be the big goal right now is, orientation is happening in the spring or early summer, and that's now going to be virtual. So, the app can be a big part of that. And, this is not just an app for current students, right? It's going to be about prospective students, as Eric showed with some of the examples that we have. A lot more schools now are using the app to target prospective students, obviously incoming freshmen, so to keeping them engaged throughout the summer. Orientation is a part of that, but so are all the chats and the communities and everything else. I think it's really critical right now that students, again, really feel like they're connected to something. And that's what we see with the platform. So yeah, I think 4 weeks is an easy implementation timeline. I think the other thing, again, to consider is, what events or activities that you have coming up that this can support.
Alrighty, awesome. So we got another question coming in. So how are institutions dealing with the student mental health issue? Good question. Do you offer something to help? That's a great question. So when we're looking at the student mental health, and especially making sure the information is kind of in the app, so we do offer options, like I showed, at least we showed in the example of the different modules that we've created. We do have partnerships that we are able to, we've got some content that we can post and work with you. I'm thinking about mental health to be able to promote different modules and information to your campuses, to be able to share out information. So it's something you work with your campus success consultant to find information and be able to share that to your students. But it is something that, we partner with your institution, and we do have some content that we're able to help and share on the campus guide for you.
Yeah. Good. Well, we're at almost 10 minutes to the hour. If you have any other questions, again, there is contact information on this page here, so you can reach out to myself or Eric. Happy to schedule some time with each of your schools to learn a little bit more about your situation and needs, whether it's for immediately or for the summer or for the fall, or even sometime early next year. Obviously, it's best to start planning these things as soon as possible. So really appreciate everyone's time and questions. Thank you, Eric, so much for walking through the demo. Again, as we mentioned, the recording will go out to everybody who attended and signed up, so you'll get a copy of this, and we'll follow up as well on the offer. So thank you, folks.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Have a good day.